Hey everyone, Shoebox Legends here with another video. Today's topic is going to be one that's a little bit controversial among collectors, or at least over the last year or so, and that is COMC. So I'm sure you probably know a collector or two that has complained about the excessively slow shipping times during the pandemic. It takes many months now to receive your cards at best from COMC. And I know a lot of collectors have been turned off and refuse to use the site because of that. I can certainly understand their sentiment, but personally, I'm willing to forgive them for a little bit of this during COVID, if only because I find their site to be one of the more interesting places on the internet to make cheap pickups. So for me, everybody's got their own style. For me, COMC is like my go-to for cards that are say 50 cents to $10 range for player collections or sets or anything like that. That is definitely my wheelhouse, and I think they just have a great site in terms of the UI, getting to see a picture of every card, unlike sport lots. And so I tend to gravitate towards them. And one of my favorite things to do is sitting around bored on a weekend, it's, load $20 of COMC credit into my account and just see what I can come up with on the site. I've been doing that for many years. I've purchased thousands of cards on COMC, and so I'm willing to give them a pass and stick with them. And just so that we get some cardboard into this video, I just chose at random 10 cards that came in my last COMC shipment about a month or two ago, and figured I would show them off today, talk a little bit about why I picked them up, how they fit my collection, and what I paid for them as well, just to illustrate some of the good cheap deals that you can find on the site if you poke around long enough. So I have 8 cards that I pulled here, as I mentioned, and we'll just get right into it. So first and foremost, we have this Duke Snider Cognac Parallel from 2011 Topps. These retired player variations were really great in the quote-unquote white border years of Topps, from like 2009 through 2014 or so. Really love the retired Legends image variations. And another thing you'll learn as we get further and further along here with my channel is that I'm an absolute sucker for all cards shiny. And so particularly like these Diamond Anniversary Parallels, or in this case, the Cognac Diamond Anniversary Parallel. And when you pair that with a retired Legend variation on top of it, you have a card that's really a winner in my book, especially for the price I paid for this Duke Snider, which was all of 65 cents. So there you have it. That first card, that's a little bit of a glare there. Next up, we have a vintage hockey card. So this is a 1969-70 Bruce Gamble goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Picked this one up solely because I love vintage hockey. I'm really not going to turn down any Topps or O-Pee-Chee vintage hockey card that I don't already own, especially in nice condition like this, if the price is right. The price was certainly right on this card at $1.93. And amazingly, this is the most expensive of the 8 cards that we'll look at today. I don't know a whole lot about Bruce as a player. I certainly recognize his name. Love the old brown leather goalie pads, blocker, and wooden stick here. And I also just really enjoy this design from Topps. With the hockey stick along the right border of the card. Really cool set. So again, for less than $2, you could certainly do a lot worse. So there's card number 2. Next up, and this is really an illustration of how off the map I get with my collecting at times, we have a Star Wars card. So this one is from the Star Wars Tech releases. I believe this is a 2016 card. Just like with the baseball tech releases, if you're familiar with those, these are acetate cards. You can see my finger behind the card here. So the area where the subject is included obviously is a solid color photo, but the remainder of the card and this sort of ornate border is acetate see-through. Really, the story here is as simple as I love acetate cards, and I love Star Wars. So obviously I grew up as a kid collector in the 90s, and I just thought cards that had this see-through element were really cool. And for those of you who don't know, I haven't checked on this in recent years, but I know at least, in the years where this card was produced, the Star Wars Tech releases were fairly expensive cards. I want to say you only got like a dozen or so cards per box for, 70 or 80 bucks, something like that. So I certainly wouldn't pay that much for these unopened, but if I can pluck them on the secondary market, stick them in my Star Wars binder, I'm always on the lookout for them on the cheap. And this one certainly met that criteria at a total cost of just 61 cents. So we'll put this one over here, and we'll try to speed through these last 5 cards here. I'm trying to keep the video short, especially at the outside of the channel, but I appreciate you sticking with me. So staying with the shiny theme for a moment, here's a nice Rafael Devers refractor. This one's not really catching the light like I wish it would for the video. There it is a little bit, but standard Topps refractor. This is the pink refractor version from the 2019 set. And not a whole lot of story behind this one. I'm a Red Sox collector, or at least I was at one point. I don't consider myself that much of a team collector anymore, but there are certain players on the team that I tend to gravitate towards. Xander Bogaerts, namely, he's my favorite current player and has been since about 2014. But I also like Devers as well. I think he's a very underrated, potentially young talent. He's had some struggles in the field, admittedly, but he swings a really, really good bat. In fact, during the last normal season, the 2018 season pre-COVID, 2019 season, the season that this card represents, Devers led the American League in both doubles and total bases at age 22. So he is a younger, I wouldn't call him a prospect because he's been up for a couple of years now, but he's a younger guy that I really enjoy collecting. And so picked this one up on the cheap at a total of 58 cents. All right, next up, we have a really nice vintage baseball card. So I am a sucker for the early 50s Bowman releases. I guess late 40s through mid 50s would be more appropriate, but I particularly like the 1950 through 1954 sets. And I'm really trying to complete a couple of those, namely 1954. So if I can find commons like this that are in decent shape, decently centered, and not total beaters for a price point that works for me, I tend to scoop them up. And this Ginsburg certainly met those standards. Really nice looking card. These are oversized. The 53, 54, and 55 Bowman sets are oversized, similar to the 52 through 56, Topps releases. So they're just really cool cards. They're colorful, vibrant, and this one was had for less than $1. I paid 90 cents for this card. So I'd have to double check my total, but I'm up to a few dozen of these at this point, and the majority of them have been scooped up on COMC for pocket change like I did here. Getting down towards the end. So if you've checked out my blog at all over the years, you know that I'm a huge fan of buyback cards. I know some people just don't really dig those, and that's fine. There's a lid for every pot in this hobby, and I am one who absolutely does enjoy buybacks. Most of my buyback collection consists of Topps baseball buybacks, but every once in a while I'll look at other sports, and in this case, I just really liked this 2019 score buyback of Hall of Famer James Lofton, pictured here with the Raiders. He played for a few different teams throughout the course of his career. I'm not a football guy. I don't know how rare these are, but I really just figured, you know what, Hall of Fame player, really cool design. In fact, one that was replicated on a recent score set, football set by Panini. And again, the price was right here. I paid a total of 85 cents for this card. So there's my buyback of the post. Next up, the penultimate card for today. This is a 1989 Topps box bottom Nolan Ryan. I think everybody's probably familiar with these cards. Throughout the 80s and into the early 90s, Topps would generally have a few cards on the bottom of the box that could be cut out by an aspiring collector and preserved. And I like them because they feature unique photographs that are oftentimes different and many times more interesting than the photograph on the player's accompanying flagship card. And on top of that, I've been a huge Nolan Ryan fan my whole life since I was a young kid. So I'll have other videos on that down the line, I'm sure. I have a decent Nolan Ryan collection that I look forward to showing off. But for today, it's just this box bottom card. And this one set me back $1.50. And it's in pretty good shape too. A lot of these were cut out by kids or, hand cut with scissors and have really rough edges or just other issues. But I thought this one was in great shape and happily shelled out $1.50 for it. And then the final card for today is a basketball card. So I'm not really a huge basketball collector. It sort of falls into the same realm as football for me. I'll dabble here and there and pick up a few singles or a few significant cards, but it is not my wheelhouse at all. One of the projects I've been working on, though, is completing a top set of 1971-72 basketball. I chose this just because the design reminds me of 71-72 hockey with sort of the bubble letter thing going on for the team name. And I just like the bright, vibrant colors and even some of the team names that are strange to me. This is a Cleveland Cavaliers card, so nothing too strange there. But there's a lot of retired or forgotten franchises of the past on the checklist. And I also chose the set because there aren't a lot of expensive rookies in it. I know the year following this has the Dr. J rookie, which is, with the insanity that's gone on over the last year, has climbed right out of my price range. But the 71-72s are a set that I'm going to work on over time. And so I grabbed this John Warren in nice shape at 88 cents. So that's it for today. This is running a little bit long. I'm trying to keep my videos at 10 minutes or so, at least at the outset. So I appreciate you sticking with me. And lastly, if you have an opinion on COMC and everything that's transpired with their organization over the last year, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Thanks as always for stopping by, and I'll be back with more content soon. Happy collecting.